nothing is that easy. We don't just heal, right? And that's I think the whole point of this podcast. That's probably the biggest thing to touch on right now is just that the point of this podcast is to empower people with education and resources, and not just for health and wellness, but the correlation between, basically it's like life coaching through a podcast. Like, what is it that how do we really want to live? And after spending a whole year being locked inside and, struggling to live in our own heads and in small spaces and without jobs and in fear and all the things, I think it's time where a lot of people want to break out of that and live their life. But how do we do it if we don't have the mental health, if we don't have the physical health or capacity, or if, we're fearing illness and disease on a regular basis? Are we really able, to live, like we say, our bucket list kind of life? Probably not. One thing that I was able to do is I turned a passion for helping people into a business. I mean, isn't that what we really all would ultimately want? Seriously, I mean, is to do something that we really love, that really gives us fulfillment, helps people, and actually get a paycheck doing it. I know that's what everyone says, right? That's like common jargon for people to peddle. Make money doing what you love, but it's unfortunate that we live in a world that doesn't really do that very often. We're like, what is success? Hey, if you go to school and you get this degree or you do that, then you will have achieved success. Somehow we forget to ask people what makes them happy, and we forget that this life is a short ride, shorter for some than for others, but it's really small in the grand scheme of things, and we should be spending it doing things that are impactful, things that make us feel good, things that help people, getting paid accordingly if we choose to get paid by doing it. So that's the why, right? Because time is the most precious commodity. I can't underscore. Anybody who leads entrepreneurs and teaches business with real integrity should never, ever, ever sell their people short on the importance of time and of relationship and of the intangible that is not oriented to money, success, and achievement. Okay. That is, I'd say, the most valuable asset we have is your health and your time. I'm all about believing that there's just no ceiling in this life on anything that we can do and achieve. And if you want something, if you have a passion for it, then that's a gift to you. You roll with it. The only thing that you will fail at is if you leave it on the table and you never see it, or if you drop it when you're halfway through because it got too hard, or because you doubted yourself too much, or you were too embarrassed or fearful of failing in front of people, blah, 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 blah. There's a thick skin that, is necessary for us to really reap the rewards of success and of passion and of fulfillment. And there's just nothing like it. This life is short. Why not do things that really make you happy?
My background was always into fitness, really kind of prided myself almost on being healthy, and worked out all the time, had lots of energy, became a personal trainer at a point in time. And then all of a sudden, decided to have children, had my first daughter, didn't notice any kind of health issues. But after my second daughter, I started to notice some things going awry. And then, of course, as we all sometimes go through health journeys, you look back and see pieces of the puzzle that maybe you didn't see prior. But all of a sudden, after my second daughter, I started noticing anxiety, hormonal acne. At about 6 months old, I started noticing just horrendous insomnia. It wasn't just like the baby waking up. It was, I could not sleep. It was really bad. And then move forward about another 6 months or so, and I got food poisoning one December, and then some other kind of like bacterial gut thing that same month. And then everything changed. And that is when all of a sudden I started noticing food sensitivities, IBS type symptoms, depression. It just, the whole gut-brain connection, gut hormone. And of course I knew nothing about it at that time. So I just went traditional medicine and started going to different doctors. Nobody could figure out what was going on. Everyone just kept telling me it was stress, but they tested me for everything under the sun, cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, talk about scary, right? Because I was losing weight. That was a big piece of the puzzle, but I couldn't absorb anything. I was nutrient deficient. And so since I was losing weight and they couldn't figure out why, they tested me for cancer, colonoscopy, this, that. And at the end, they said, you're just stressed. When you go through something, all of a sudden you attract people who have a similar journey or need your help, and you will end up paying it forward. And that's just such the blessing of the hard things we go through, right?
It's 100% true. Like a lot of entrepreneurs are basically like junkies.
Yeah.
Like for those feelings of so like push and succeeding. And it's a good thing, for like, that's like, we need entrepreneurs. I firmly believe that. That's why I choose to work with them. But especially when you go into entrepreneurs that are like, they have the financial success, what you're talking about is so prevalent because they're hooked to those feelings and they feel successful in that area. And that also means that they get very rewarded from being in that space, and sometimes to a bigger extent than in some of the other areas, such as their relationships, for example, which is a very common sort of battlefield for some people. They're surprised to like always having to push. That doesn't always feel good. So one of the very common things that I see is that, when you have someone who's like, they're running a little bit of an equation that isn't really working out, like they feel more and more tired, then they double down and work harder.
Yeah.
The same things, right? And there's a certain irony to that, of course. But also I think it's important to realize that they get rewarded for. And I don't want to say they as like bad people. These are like the top players in the world sometimes. They're hugely successful in business, but they're doing it by a lot of push sometimes. And what I want to help them do is like help realign some of those resources so they get access to more energy so they can do more great things. To be fair, there's a lot of like really great relationships out there where they feel supported. And but what they feel is that the successful entrepreneurs that live a happy relationship, they get lots and lots of energy and support from that relationship. Whereas in relationships that are not as aligned, it takes away energy. Like it feels like there's something that we need to address, or all of a sudden now we're just friends or enemies at home. Like when you come home from your, changing the world, there's like a gremlin with a spear there waiting.
Oh my God.
Like that's right. That like trying to ambush you. That's not what you want to feel. That's not helping, right? And what I find sometimes is that people want a lot of things and they say they want a lot of things, but they don't factor in that it's going to take some work. And I think learning about how to do something is invaluable because without it, it's going to be hard for you to do trial and error to get there. But one of the reasons I'm a big believer in coaching and coach myself is that coaching is sort of getting it done, making sure it gets done. Because otherwise we're sitting there with a nice book about how to do it, but we haven't taken the first step yet. So to answer the question, is it possible? 100% yes. And the second question obviously is like, how do you get there? And that is to figure out what you want, come up with a bunch of role models who've done it before, and see if you can follow along the same path.
Through these experiences of life not working and my health being taken away from me, I've learned to be, I like to say a phoenix out of the ashes, to rise and build a superpower, which is the ability to help and create solutions for people who are struggling with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Eventually, huge stress hit me, boom. I got to the hospital, I was stuck in the hospital for 6 weeks straight, and I did nearly lose my life in that hospital. My whole family flew out, dad, my 2 sisters, my mom, they took turns. I was on 3 grams of Dilaudid, I was on TPN feeding tube, I was on 4 antibiotics infused, I was on 200 milligrams of prednisone infused, I was on Ambient. And I don't really remember much. Like when I go there mentally, I can still feel it. Like I was like half dead. And the surgeon was sitting outside the room just waiting for my mother to give him the green light to take my colon. And they were at the point that I was so sick that if we take his colon, he might die. And I think there was one night where they told my mom they weren't sure if I was going to live, that I was going to be the CEO of my health. I was no longer going to rely on any people to tell me how it was going to go. I was going to learn from others, my conventional, my functional, my life coach, my mom, everybody. I was going to learn and take and critique and cherry pick, and I was going to start building my unique custom solution. And everything I was going to do was going to be built on a foundation that was laid there by my intuition, by my energy, by my relationship with God, by my relationship with my body. And so that's when I got deep into meditation. That's when I got deep into prayer. Not because I just, please get rid of this, because I was connecting with the intuition nature of my human spirit of what do I need to take? What do I need to do? How do I calm down this stress? How do I get rid of this blood? How do I start walking again? and really get connected to that. I was backed into a corner where it was now life-threatening. And we'd already spent $30,000 in 1 year trying to heal me. And I was more sick than when we spent $30K. $30K was a lot of money for my family. A lot. There was a lot of people pitching in, okay? It was more sick. So it wasn't a matter of money. We were burning through it. It wasn't a matter of discipline. I was willing to try. I was needing my mom to manage what I was eating, cook for me, and get my supplements for me and figure out what I was going to do because I was too out of it. I was too depressed. So I was relying on all these other people to kind of keep me afloat. And it just, boom, right there. I'm done. I'm done letting other people be responsible for my success and my health. And I became the CEO. I didn't become ignorant. I didn't stop listening. I took my place at the head of that table. Write this down, everyone who's still with us. Define success. The reason you're having pain from food is because success for you means freedom to eat what you want or what you used to eat and what you see your friends eating. But success is not to let the world, and your friends are part of the world, not to let the world to inspire you. You inspire the world. The real influencer is not the richest, it's not the person with the most Instagram followers. The real influencer is the person who is happiest and healthiest at the table. And everyone will eventually, I don't care how cool they are, will eventually start gravitating towards the person who has the most happiness, spiritual balance, and health within their life.